In this week's Parsha, Parshas Chayei, we have the Maisa, we have the story of the Shidduch between Yitzchak and Rivka. So the Pasuk tells us, V'Avram Zakin Ba Bayamim, that Avram was elderly, he had a lot of days under his belt. V'Hashem berachas Avram Bakol, and Hashem blessed Avram Avinu with everything. He had a son, Parnasa, but there's one thing missing, the son isn't married. V'Yomar Avram Alavda Zakan Beisai. So Avram Avinu tells his Eved, his servant, Zakan Beisai, the one that was in charge of his whole household, Eliezer, and he tells Eliezer the mission that if you don't mind to go to my family, you know, at the house of Besul and so on, and find the shidduch for my son Yitzchak. Now there's a little bit of background that Chazal tell us, and it's famous, it's well known, that Eliezer knew that Yitzchak needed shidduch. And Eliezer had an idea. His idea was, no, Yitzchak is an eligible bachelor, I have a daughter, I'm Eliezer Eved Avram. My whole life is about trying to take the Torah of Avram Avinu and spread it the whole world. I'm his confidant and everything. So it'll be a good shidduch, Yitzchak with my daughter. Avram Avinu, as the Navi and just the sensitive person he was, picked up on this and turns to Eliezer and says, listen, Eliezer, I love you with all my heart, but Lamaisa, at the end of the day, it's not a shidduch. My son is Baruch, my son is blessed. And you, on the other hand, Eliezer, you are coming from Canaan, or you are cursed. Ein or mizavig v'baruch. A person that comes from the world of being cursed cannot connect with a person that's coming from the world of being blessed. Okay, that's harsh news. It's harsh news. But here's the question. I understand that Avram Avinu made that decision. It's not right. You know, he feels it's, you have to make the best decision for what Yitzchak needs, and he felt and he understood that Eliezer's daughter, as great as I'm sure she was, it's not a shidduch with Yitzchak. But Avram Avinu is the world of chesed. Avram Avinu is the pillar of chesed. He's the embodiment of God's chesed in the world, of God's kindness. And so why, of all the people, would he choose to be the shadchan, is the one guy that he's disappointing? It's like lack of sensitivity, no? If any person like that did that nowadays, that would be like the most cruel thing. You know what I'm saying? Like the one person that you're saying no to their shidduch. Oh, and by the way, once they have you on the phone, do me a favor, could you read the shidduch to your neighbor? What type of sensitivity is that? So the Arizal comes, the Arizal deals with this, and the Arizal says, listen, Avram Avinu is the pillar of chesed, he's kindness, and Avram Avinu wanted nothing more than to try to help the whole world. And certainly, of the entire world, the one person he wants to help the most, besides his own family, is Eliezer. And so Avram Avinu is like this. Avram Avinu understood that Eliezer right now, he's in the world of cursed, right? That's what Avram Avinu says. But Avram Avinu is actually trying to fix Eliezer. He's trying to raise him up to get him to a place of being blessed. And so said the Arizal that for some reason, this is what we'll talk about for the next few minutes, that for some reason the soul of Eliezer needed to go through this process of being Dafka, the one sent on this mission to go find the shidduch for Yitzchak. And if Eliezer, with all of his personal baggage and all of his personal tinus, is able to quash all of that and put that to the side and be a good Eved, be a good servant, and be a good shliach, and be a good shadchan to make a shidduch between Yitzchak and would eventually be Rivka, then Eliezer would be able to be raised from a place of being cursed to a place of being blessed. And in fact, this is what happened. Later on in the Parsha, when Eliezer comes, and accepts that mission and goes to the house of Besul and Lavan sees him, and Lavan's reaction to Eliezer is, Bo Baruch Hashem, come the one that is blessed by God. And so the reason that wasn't just something that Lavan was just some words that came out of him, it's recorded in Chumash. Which means that by Eliezer accepting that mission, he was raising himself from being cursed into being blessed. The Rizal said further, now this is interesting, the Rizal said further, that same soul of Eliezer, it began to become perfected in this experience, right? When Lavan says to him, come that which is blessed. But the Rizal said that it took a few more lifetimes for that soul of Eliezer to become fully perfected. And these are the few lifetimes that the same soul came down in. The next time Eliezer comes to the world is as Kalev ben Yefuneh. Kalev ben Yefuneh, if you remember, he's one of the 12 spies, right? The spies are sent to Eretz Yisrael, 10 come back with negative report, except for Yeshua ben Nun and Kalev ben Yefuneh. Kalev was the reincarnation of Eliezer. The Rizal says that's why, by the way, if you remember, in the story of the 12 spies, when they go into Eretz Yisrael, Yeshua ben Nun was blessed by Moshe, so he had no issue at all. Kalev was struggling. He saw the same problems the other spies saw. But what did he do different? He went to Hebron to go daven that Hashem should help him. Why did he go to Hebron? Why not Yerushalayim? The answer is he's going to his own stomping ground. He's going to his old master, Avram Avinu, to get help from his old master, that his old master should talk to God on his behalf. So that was unbelievable. Another time the soul came down to the world for the next step, for another level of refinement, was as Beniyahu ben Yoyada. Who was Beniyahu ben Yoyada? Another mysterious personality. He was one of the generals of David. General of David. Beniyahu ben Yoyada. The Gemara says about Beniyahu ben Yoyada, we only have a few little pieces of information about him. The Gemara says about him that one of the most amazing things that he did is that he was makbid to go to the mikveh before he learned and before he davened. And the Gemara records, this is recorded in the Gemara, that one completion is as Zechariah Hanavi. Zechariah Hanavi was, again, a Navi during the times of the first Beis Hamikdash, and he was killed al Kiddush Hashem. He was killed al Kiddush Hashem. The story was that Yoash was the king at the time, who was in fact Zechariah's father-in-law, and Yoash was not a good guy. He was bringing an idol into the Beis Hamikdash, and Zechariah Navi stood there and he said, "Over my dead body," and Kachavas. He was killed al Kiddush Hashem in trying to stop an idol from coming to the Beis Hamikdash. So there is that process from Eliezer to Kalev, ben Yoda to Zechariah. That's the history of this soul of Eliezer. And that all those lifetimes and all those processes was one long process of rectifying that soul, of getting it to become what it has to be. Adka. So what does this mean? And what does it mean for us? Okay, so this is really a big inyan, but I'm just going to be makatsa just for a few minutes. There are two types of neshamas. There are two types of souls. There are two types of Jews in the world. There's a type of Jew which can be described as a sar, as a minister, as a general in Hashem's army, so to speak. And there's another type of soul which can be described as an eved, as a servant in Hashem's army. What's the difference between a general and a soldier, and a regular foot soldier? What's the difference? The difference is very simple. If the king has a certain idea in terms of war, he doesn't just tell his generals, do this, do that, listen to orders. He has a cabinet meeting, he talks about it, he fills them in on why we should do it, the different strategies, they have a say in it. When the generals are given a mission, they're given the mission with the background of understanding how important it is, what the mission exactly is, what the long-term idea, where this particular point of the mission is in terms of the long-term goals of the war. They see the big picture and they understand, they appreciate what they're doing. When it comes to an eved, what's an eved? What is a servant? What's the soldier? The soldier doesn't get the whole big picture, quite the opposite. If anything, the generals hide from the soldiers what other soldiers are doing. You do what you do. You have no idea why you're doing it. You have no idea what's happening. Am I even accomplishing my mission? Sometimes the soldier doesn't even know that. They should do this. Okay, I don't know. Did I do it well? I don't know. They just go. There's two types of neshamas. There are neshamas that are called generals. Generals, these are neshamas that, for whatever reason, we're not explaining why, but for whatever reason, the Rebbeinu Shalom has decided from the beginning of time that these are neshamas that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to reveal to them how important their avodah is. Hashem is going to show them how big their mitzvahs are. Hashem is going to show them how far-reaching they are, where they are in terms of the big picture. He's going to share information with them. And when they go on their mission to serve God and to do what they have to do, it's with a sense of royalty, of dignity. It's with a sense of accomplishment. They know what they're doing. But then, for whatever reason, the Rebbeinu Shalom has another type of neshama. And this is a neshama that's called an eved. The nature of an eved is, their mission is, the type of avodah that the Rebbeinu Shalom wants of these types of souls is, do your job with self-sacrifice. Do your job with self-sacrifice, mesiras nefesh. That's their job. The general doesn't have mesiras nefesh. The general usually doesn't find himself in a position where his neck is on the line. Maybe you can say he's too important. But that's not his arena. His job is not self-sacrifice. His arena is to understand the big picture and to try to implement it as much as possible. The foot soldiers, their job is self-sacrifice. This soul of Eliezer is not just one soul. This is a category of souls. It's a category called an eved. And every single step of those lifetimes that this soul came to the world, its mission is one and one thing only, which is serve God with self-sacrifice. Eliezer, his first life. What's his first life about? The only story in Chumash that we have of Eliezer is this week's Parshas story. This story is all self-sacrifice. Eliezer, I know this is hard for you. I know that you have your own personal, aspirations. You want your family to be connected with mine, your daughter. I know that, but I'm asking you, serve me with self-sacrifice. Put your ideas to the side and be a good soldier. Be a good soldier. And when Eliezer accepts that mission of being an Eved, that's the beginning of him becoming complete. That's the beginning of his soul reaching its destiny. It comes back down in the world as Kalev, the same experience. Kalev says to himself, Yeshua ben Nun, I don't know what he's talking about. I see exactly what the other 10 spies are seeing. This is a bad place. This is a bad idea. And the other 10 spies were like, yeah, exactly, it's a bad idea. We don't want to go there. What does Kalev ben Yefune do? He has the strength of what? Of serving God with self-sacrifice, of putting his own ideas to the side and saying, I don't see the big picture. I don't understand how this mission is part of winning the war. I don't get it. If anything, this is a step in the wrong direction. But you know what? Eved. What does the pasuk say about Kalev? Ve'avdi Kalev, ekev ha'isa ruach acher, my servant Kalev. Something different about him. Benio ben Yehoyada. Benio ben Yehoyada was a soldier of David HaMelech. It's interesting. Chazal is saying the Zohar Kadosh in our parsha. In fact, the Zohar says about Benio ben Yehoyada that he was not necessarily the greatest of soldiers, of generals in David's army. But you know what was amazing about Benio ben Yehoyada is that his devotion to David was something different. His devotion, his self-sacrifice. David HaMelech, his mind was always on David, and David was always thinking about him. He wasn't necessarily the highest ranking, but the devotion, the self-sacrifice. Even the example the Gemara gives about Benio ben Yehoyada, breaking the ice and going with self-sacrifice into the mikveh for God's sake. That's the only example we have from Benio ben Yehoyada. It's the same soul coming to the world, and its mission is serve God with self-sacrifice without knowing why or what or how. You just be a good Eved. Finally, the last time it comes to the world, the greatest self-sacrifice, the Chayei Navi, he's literally killed Al Kiddush Hashem. And with that, the neshama becomes complete. But here's the amazing thing. So until now, we're painting a picture where if you're an Eved, it's Rachmanis. You'd rather be a general. You know what I'm saying? Because then you get all the secrets. You know what's going on. You feel what's going on. But there's an amazing, amazing milah. There's an amazing benefit of being an Eved. There's a Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara says the following story. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, his daughter was sick. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is davening, the whole yeshiva is davening, daughter's still sick. And so Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had a student, Rabbi Chanina ben Trajin. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the Rebbe, goes to the student and says, Chanina, daven for my daughter. So Chanina says, no problem. He puts his head between his knees, he goes into the fetal position, says the Kapitel Tehillim, boom, daughter's healed. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the Rebbe, his wife comes over to him, to the Rebbe's wife. The Rebbe goes to the Rebbe and says, I don't understand. You're the Rebbe, he's the student. You're davening all day long, nothing. The student, you want to kill him, and done. Said Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, I'm a general, he's a soldier. I'm a general, he's an Eved. He's like, he's the cleaning lady in the palace. When it comes to God's big ideas and all that stuff, he comes to me, I'm the general. But the general can't walk into the bedroom of the king whenever he wants. But the maid, the butler, the cleaning person, the Eved, he goes in whenever he wants. He's not invited to these big meetings, but he has full access. So my Tehillim, listen, I have to be invited in, and Hashem wasn't inviting me in, but the Eved, my student, he's an Eved, he goes in whenever he wants. Which means that if you have a neshama, that they are an Eved, although there is, the sad part of being an Eved is that you're not given a lot of information about the army, about the war, about what's going on, but the personal relationship that you can have with the king, the power of your tefillah is exceptional. There's a Torah, for example, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, he asked the following question. You need a Hasidic Rebbe to ask this question, because otherwise it's like you're misnagid. The second Lubavitcher Rebbe asked, he said, what's the pshat that with the Baal Shem Tov and all of his students, you have these like crazy miracle stories, right? Just crazy miracle stories, you know? But then with Rashi and the Rambam, you don't hear such stories, right? So you're going to tell me Baal Shem Tov is greater than Rashi and the Rambam? Can't say such a thing, right? Maybe you could, I don't know, but you can't, you're not going to say such a thing. So what's the pshat? What's the pshat? So you know what the Mittler Rebbe, the second Lubavitcher Rebbe, he said? He said the pshat is Rashi and Rambam are generals. They're generals. A general is so much higher up in stature in the hierarchy in the army than a butler, than the maid in the palace. The Baal Shem Tov and his students were maids. They're butlers. They're handyman. So they're not coming to all the board meetings. But but in terms of just barging into the Oval Office, you know what I'm saying? Because you have to fix the toilet. And once I'm fixing the toilet in the Oval Office, I get to speak to the president. That was the Baal Shem Tov and his students, you know? So there's such a thing as an Eved. Our generation is mostly Avadim. As we know, it's mostly Avadim. But if we could harness that energy, that potential, that madrega, of serving God with Mesiras Nefesh, of self-sacrifice, of not knowing, not understanding, but just doing what we have to do with mamish self-sacrifice, then the relationship that we can forge with God, the intimate relationship, and the power of feel that we can have, like off the cuff, talking to Rabbanu Shalom. Generals can't do that. Soldiers can do that. Maids can do that, not generals. That's an unbelievable kind. Even Mashiach himself, which is the greatest Jew of all time, right? Mashiach is called an Eved. It says in Pasuk in Yishai, Hine Yaskel Avdi, my servant, referring to Mashiach, will become exceedingly successful. Ram v'nisa v'gav ma'id, will become exalted, high, exceedingly high. Mashiach is called an Eved. There's such a thing. Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, is able to break through all barriers, you know? I'll tell you a quick Maisa. It's a Maisa from the Kedusha slave of the Berditchever. So the Maisa goes that it was Erev Yom Kippur. It was Erev Yom Kippur, and the Berditchever was usually in a positive mood. He's a Berditchever. That's the way he was. But this particular Erev Yom Kippur, he was not in the right mood. Clearly something was serious, and he was not in his happy self. So the Chassidim, they didn't know what to do. Clearly there's something in Shemayim, but they don't know what to do. So Berditchever, at some point during the day, goes to his Gabbai and he says, listen, there's a lot of people coming to give a kvittel to me that I should daven for them and their families. And usually they come with a certain amount of money, a pidyon, a donation for the Rav, for the shul, for the kehillah. He said, but there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of kvitlach. I'm making a rule, two kopiks per name. That's the rule. Any name that you want in your kvittel, each name is 2 kopiks. And he told the Gabbai, before they come and give the kvittel, I want you to count the money, make sure 2 kopiks per name, no exceptions. No exceptions. Okay, fine. The Rebbe said, that's the Rebbe said. So that's what the Gabbai does. He's getting in the kvitlach, and he's making sure, he sends out this is the rule, 2 kopiks per name, finished. So most people can afford it, it's not a big deal. So you have even a big mishpacha, so fine, tzedakah. There's one woman that she comes in, and she has on the name, she has her and her son. No money. And he says to her, the Gabbai says to her, the Rebbe said, 2 kopiks per name. You have to give 4 kopiks. He said, 4 kopiks. I'm a widow. My husband died. I have no parnasa. All I have is my son. I have nothing. I can't afford 1 kopik. It's 4. So the Rebbe said, no exceptions. I'm telling you, tell the Rebbe my situation. There's no question to let me in. I'm sorry. The Rebbe said, no exceptions. So fine. Well, she leaves and she's trying to borrow money. So she goes around for a couple hours. And she comes back. Eventually, the line is already almost over. It's already almost kol nidre. The Rebbe is still in a bad mood, And she comes finally to the Gabbai and she says, "Here's the money," and she puts down 2 kopiks. So there's that. You have 2 names. It's 4 kopiks. He said, "Rabbi, I'm telling you, this is all I could afford. I went around. Talk to the Rebbe. I'm sure he'll let me in." What am I supposed to do? So he's refusing to let her in. She just runs around him, runs into the office, and puts the kvittel down by the Rebbe with 2 kopiks. The Rebbe looks at the kvittel, 2 kopiks, and the Rebbe says to her, 4 kopiks. She's like, Rebbe, I can't afford it. I spent hours trying to get 2 kopiks. I can't afford 4 kopiks. The Rebbe said, I'm sorry, 2 kopiks per name. You have to make a choice. Am I giving you a good year or your son? Make a choice. So she starts crying. She says, Rebbe, if that's the choice I have to make, there's no question, my son. So Berditchever starts smiling. He turns to Rabban Shmuel and says, Rabban Shmuel, look at this human mother. This human mother has been given a choice, her or her son. And you see the self-sacrifice, that she'll give everything. She doesn't know what her year is going to be as long as her son has a good year. Rabban Shalom. So you're our father, you're our mother, you're our everything. And you don't have Rachmanis on us. And with that, the Berditchever said, okay, now let's go to Kol Nidre. That's what he said. It's Mesiras Nefesh. Self-sacrifice can do. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? This case, the woman didn't know, she's going the whole time. Why is the Rebbe being so stubborn and so obstinate? 4 copies. What are you making me crazy for? But Mesiras Nefesh. When a person has that avodah Mesiras Nefesh, you're a good Eved. The Rebbeinu Shalom then looks at you and says, Hine Yaskel Avdi, my avodim, they're going to be mamish matzliach, the greatest neshamas of all. It takes time, but eventually those avodim become the greatest neshamas of all. Hashem Shalom, we should be zeicha to experience that. With the zchus of our Mesiras Nefesh, the zchus of our avodah, which is b'li tam and b'li reich, we should be zeicha to experience that revelation of Hine Yaskel Avdi, Ram v'nisa Gav Moed, v'yes kol tzedek, b'meher v'minu amen.
Thank you, Hashem. Thank you, Hashem.